Welcome to another A Day in a Life of. Today I'm super excited because I'm going to be speaking with Head of Data, a department that I have no clue about, which makes it way more interesting for me and more difficult, but I've done Head of Engineering, so it's fine. So with me I have Elizabeth, Vladimir, and Igor, and I'll let each of my guests to introduce themselves. So let's start with you, Vladimir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vladimir, and happy to be here on this call. I'm head of data at Formal Skin, where we are building dermatology online here in Germany. Before that, I spent probably like 15 years on doing different data-related stuff, different data roles from data analytics, data engineering, different types of data leadership positions, delivering many data analytics based systems and so on and so forth. That's pretty much it.
Sounds good, sounds good. Elizabeth, how about you?
Yes, hello everyone. I am creator and owner of D3M Labs. So that is a data blog and also a community of people who just really love data and love talking about data-driven decision making. So I've been running, this is the 2.0 version. The 1.0 version was a consultancy that I owned that I ran for 5 years. I freelanced for example, the German Foreign Office as an external consultant, analyzing digital communications. I ran data innovation programs for example, Rolls-Royce, and did a whole lot of other things in the Berlin area and the New York area. Before that, I worked at Dell, and then before that, I was a strategy consultant. And I think the reason why you have me here is I have also been really active in the Berlin scale up and startup scene in the past 3 years, where I've worked as a director of data and head of data at various startups. So.
Yes. Vladimir was the one who pointed me to you. So thank you, Vladimir, for doing that. You really helped me. So thank you. Yeah, welcome, Elizabeth. Super happy to have you here. Last but not least, Igor, tell us about yourself.
Hi, thank you. Happy to be here as well, everyone. Yes, so I would say in the last 12 years approximately, I'm working in the data area, and I started my way mainly more as individual contributor until after some years as a tech lead, I also decided I want to focus more on management and leadership, and I had the opportunity to work in different company sizes and business model, from product companies to consultancy companies, from startups to large enterprises, and over the last year focusing more on leadership and management, also in different types of companies and different titles, let's call it so, because those titles sometimes can go different directions.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, I think my last role was more director of engineering, but focusing on data and more focus on building data customer platform.
Perfect. Sounds good. So with no further ado, let's talk about the head of data role. So I'll start with you, Vladimir, again. In a general overview, what does a head of data do?
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I think the easiest way to answer is to give an example. Let's imagine you is my stakeholder. And
yes.
My role, my responsibility, and my goal is to make sure that you have everything in terms of data, reporting, I don't know, like all data related aspects for you to make right data informed decision. So let's say you want to enter a new market, or you want to start selling a new product group, or I don't know, you need sales forecast. Like everything that can be built on data is kind of building and analyzing data and preparing data, collecting it. Everything is responsibility of data team and me as a data leader. So yeah, instead of gut feelings, let's focus on data. And in that case, I'm your best partner.
Sounds good. Elizabeth, I saw you smiling.
Yes. So I think what I do is similar to what Vladimir said. It's maybe the way one looks at it. I look at that I am responsible for the whole value stream of data, as when it comes into the company, as whatever whatever form it might be, whether it's transactional data, whether it's event data, and how that moves through the company until it meets decisions. So I see it a little bit like a supply chain, if you want to put it that way. And I see that I am responsible for the entire supply chain. So from, if we were going to take oil from the drilling to when it goes, into your car,
Yeah, makes
the
sense.
gas station. So that's it.
Okay, I like that. Igor, what would you add here?
Maybe my 2 cents here would be that, like from starting my introduction, depends on the company, right? How large the company, if you have a central team, if you have a distributed team. But in a few companies I was, my responsibility was not just providing the value by pumping the data further and being able to support others with reporting, dashboards, or whatever, but also to create an environment where others can enable themselves and be self-sufficient and be able to serve themselves to unlock the potential of data on their side. That's of course not easy, because the other side also need to understand what is the value here, right? So in some cases it could be more supporting with central solutions. In some cases it would be more supporting as a consultancy inside, advising basically what the others can do with the data.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. And what we can continue with you, Igor. How does like a typical day look like? I know already there are no typical days. That happens in every department. I always get that answer. But let's say theoretically, how would a typical day look like?
Yeah, there are no typical days. So usually it depends. I always used to say it depends which day, because at least in my work, especially with many teams and direct reports, I try to create those batches of context where I don't need to have too much switching context, right? So it could be days where I have a lot of one-on-ones and I work mainly with direct reports, team leads, so engineers. In another days, it's more focusing on leadership meetings and potentially a lot of meetings with stakeholders to understand a lot of, whether it's new use cases or just to be in touch, stay in touch with existing stakeholders to make sure that they are still happy, that everything is what they get is as expected. And of course, there is a room for the spontaneous problems like firefighting or any other operational issues that comes, or those periodical performance reviews. So yeah, I would say it depends on the day of the week, but usually I try to structure my schedule so I have all those days where I can aggregate one-on-ones, aggregate meetings around OKRs review, KPIs review, and then trying not to left my schedule with too much empty spaces.
Oh yes, oh yes. I think that's a great learning for everyone. Don't make your schedule too available. That's true. Elizabeth, how is it for you, your typical day?
Yeah, so I could say a typical week because I structure my time in weeks usually. Like weekly scrums are my favorite way of working, and it works with my team. So the way I look at it is on Monday, we come in, we look at, okay, what are our priorities for the week, and just going through the cards, just looking at, okay, who does what. And what I try to do is make a 50 to 60% capacity for the tasks that we plan, and then there's all the other stuff that comes in, like the other guys said, all of the surprises and the firefighting, and unfortunately there's a lot of ad hoc stuff that comes up that maybe doesn't need to come up, but it's the truth of organization, so you need to work like that. So I try to do on one side a lot of the long-term projects and the sort of standard work, and just leave some of these white spaces for urgencies. And as Igor said, there's a lot of stakeholder meetings, understanding what the stakeholders want, understanding what the different initiatives in the companies are, and then of course talking with your one-on-ones, talking with the direct reports. And it could vary if the direct reports are managers themselves or if they are the doers as well. Depending on that also changes the way those one-on-ones are structured and all.
Yeah. yeah, absolutely. That sounds very similar as well with when I do my one-on-ones with my business development team. Yeah, absolutely. Vladimir, last but not least, how does your day look like?
Actually, my week usually looks similar to Igor and Elizabeth mentioned. But since I'm working for a startup company, I still have opportunity to do a bit of hands-on work. And usually the second part of the week, I try to focus on doing, I don't know, some little bit of analysis, little bit of development. Depends if I have this opportunity, but yeah, still trying to keep my hands dirty.
Yes,
Just
yes,
a little
yes.
bit.
I can relate. I also work in a startup, so yes, I have to execute almost every day. So yes, I know what you mean. It's fun. It's fun. It's okay. Good. And what does success mean in your role, Elizabeth? What do you say? Yes, this was a successful week or month. I've done a great job as a head of data.
I think you could look at completion of tasks and feeling with the stakeholders, those two parameters, if I could say. I think that one challenge in head of data roles are that you don't have any hard KPIs that you own only. For example, in sales, it would be revenue or something like
Yes,
that.
absolutely.
What we have to do is we have tasks that we have to do despite a lot of firefighting, and especially if you work in a startup. But you know, we also are measured often by our influence. So it's like you're stuck between objectives that actually entail a lot of work and a lot of steps. And then the way you are measured is how influential you are, or how helpful people perceive you. And it's a perception.
Interesting.
And I think that's really, really the difficult part. So what I've tried to do is make like monthly Kanban boards where I ask the stakeholders, okay, what tasks do you want done? And then we go through the tasks and we see the task completion and quality to try to get something there that is objective.
It's
Rather
tangible.
than like,
Yeah.
are you perceived as helpful? Are you perceived as adding value? So that at least we could see that. And what's really so that's one thing. Also, there's a lot of tasks in data that are so important that people don't see them. And sometimes the most important tasks, or let's say the most enabling tasks, are the ones people don't see. Without data infrastructure, you will not have good data, okay? And everything you do will be of less value. So people could perceive you as being very nice and helpful, but the quality of what you do, and thus the impact of what you do, could be really bad. And I think this is really a hard balance to put. So like I said, the Kanban method is what I try, but it's always this relationship thing, because no matter how much you try to make it an objective measure, it's there's always going to be the subjectivity there in head of data roles, and maybe elsewhere as well. So
it's very interesting you mentioned that, because when I did this episode with the RevOps managers, they talk a lot with sales. They say, I know I'm doing my job right when people forget I exist. Because it means everything works smoothly, people are happy, they don't write me with problems. So that's how I measure my success. I found that was a very interesting way to look at it. Igor, how do you see success? Do you have KPIs? How is it for you?
Yeah, so usually I would divide success in two dimensions. One is more the team success, and the other one is the value that you bring to the business. For the team success, I think my measurement is quite simple. If I can get out of the way of the teams and they can continue operate without the need in me, then then for me it's successful. Which is not always easy, of course, requiring a lot of work. And on the value side, it's really to see that what we do can provide business impact, ROI, not just for the sake of doing another report or data pipeline. And I would join what Elizabeth mentioned, that's the hard part. As a data leader, it's not always easy to show this tangible value, because if in software engineering you have a front-end team and you change button from red to green, you can measure conversion rate. When you start to provide some new pipeline or infrastructure, how do you measure the impact of that? And it's usually it's enabling function, it's implicit, which makes the life even harder, and then the communication and stakeholders management become even more challenging and important, right? I do have some KPIs like budget, for example, for infrastructure that is important to keep in the right direction. I would say, right, it depends which services we provide. If we have SLAs that we give to stakeholders, like data will be available 9 in the morning, or service that should serve X requests per second is not crashing. So those are important measures, but still, it's not always easy to use those to understand the real values, the ROI comes from.
Yeah, absolutely. I've had a lot of episodes like this, and there are indeed departments where it's way easier to measure success than others, and sales is definitely one of the most easiest ones. So absolutely.
Yeah.
Vladimir, how is it for you?
Actually, pretty much similar to Igor and Elizabeth mentioned. In my case, it's kind of a little bit different, maybe perspective. It's a combination of strategic projects and operational work. In terms of strategic projects, yes, we have monthly, quarterly goals, and 90% of them is collaboration with other departments like product team, marketing team, and so on and so forth. So like we basically helping them being enablers for their projects, or we helping them with measurement of successfulness of their tasks. It's one thing, like there are maybe 10% of our monthly goals to do our internal stuff, like Igor mentioned, budget, infrastructure cost, and so on and so forth, and plus operational stuff, kind of service level agreement that all important data, all important reports should be ready by 10 a.m., for example, or something like that, and then we can measure if it's like 100%, like all working days, data is available on all working days, or like there's some delays and so on and so forth. So pretty much similar picture.
And besides, so we already talked about the challenging that sometimes the most important work is not seen and it's implicit. Would you have other challenges to mention as well, Vladimir?
Yeah, I think the biggest challenge is that as I mentioned, a lot of things is about collaboration with different teams, and for us, for data team, it requires that we should understand different parts of the business. We should be good at product features, marketing stuff that marketing team is doing, like sales team, operational team. We always kind of on an intersection of different departments, and we should be able to kind of clearly understand what other team are doing, and being able to support them, to help them, and so on and so forth. It's like a little bit besides of technical knowledge, you have to have a lot of business understanding.
Yeah, because data out of context doesn't mean anything, right?
Yes. And I think it's the major challenge.
All right. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And yeah, and it's hard to understand certain departments that are very different from ours. So I see definitely that as a challenge. Also with me, it's easier to understand sales, business development, and marketing. And then I go to a more technical, so now I have no idea what they're talking about. So I definitely see the challenge there. Elizabeth, what else would you add? Or would you add anything else? Or you think we covered already all the challenges?
So I'm going to use my freedom now as a blogger and a journalist, as I'm currently now, and say the one thing there's two things I see that are really difficult for heads of data across different companies. That's the economics of information and the economics of messiness.
All right. Could you elaborate?
Yes. So the economics of information is the fact that as heads of data, we are dealing with information. It's not just data points and technology. This is actually really pertinent information. And there's, this whole field of privacy and information security. And we just put that aside, although it's extremely important. We just look at the impact of our analysis on our colleagues, on the market. And I think that there's not just the impact if we do a good job or not, but it's also that there's a lot of politics around what we're saying.
Yes.
And rather than the quality of it as well. So I think that that's one challenge to navigate a lot of that. Also, just to be honest, a lot of things that we do, like attribution models or whatever, you know, marketing ROI and, you know, A/B testing, even if it's data driven or whatever, it's not 100% right. It's just an approximation. So, you know, there's a lot of, I would say, politics and questions around that as well. And I think to navigate that, the fact that this is not perfect or the word of God or something, and it's just an approximation, and the impact of what that is for people and their lives and the company, big deal. Okay.
Yeah.
Then I get to the economics of messiness.
I love the title. Can't wait to hear what does it mean.
So and then within messiness, there's communication messiness and information organization messiness. So communication messiness is things like Slack or whatever, and that's huge in startups. But I think it's you know, there's Teams or whatever. So this whole usage of instant communication, instant feedback loop, it really blows up people's time planning and the ability of people to write together a very succinct thought, okay? And there's something in that as well. And I think data teams, for whatever reason people perceive data teams as being a bit like a service desk, you know, they get a lot of the slacking and stuff like that, where
I need this report.
At least an IT service desk, you're like, here, Jira ticket and all of this. More and more data teams are being able to politically pull that through, but it's a bit of a difficult thing. So there's that economics of communication messiness. And then there's the information organizational messiness. And that's, you know, sometimes it's hard to find dashboards. Sometimes it's hard to find data points. And I find that this is also a huge challenge, especially being somebody who comes in and takes over a data function, which a lot of us do. You know, there's the, oh, where is that? Oh my God, you know, this data is not of good quality, or it's not very well curated. Oh my God, is it actually legal? Am I taking over some department where I really need to worry if we're compliant? And I think that these are really big challenges. So that's my freedom as a journalist to talk about all of that.
Awesome, use it. Igor, I saw you smiling a lot. Anything to add, to disagree, to agree?
No, so I can agree with Elizabeth that sometimes can be challenging, that even what the stakeholders want, it's not clear to them. They, in some magic way, sometimes expect from you to tell them what they need. But sitting on this overlapping between all the different domain knowledge, as mentioned here, it's not an easy one, and you cannot expect from each analyst or engineer to be proficient in all of those different areas, right? Adding to that, the startup way of working, fast, deliver, and that create definitely also a lot of challenges, that you don't have this time to stop, think what is actually needed.
Yeah, absolutely. I can vouch for that.
Do proper investigation work, right? Those dashboards are like all over the place, and nobody knows why are they exist. And but I would add to that also that sometimes also the reporting lines of the leader, of the data leader, can be challenging, especially in startups, right? They usually will not have a representative in the executive level as from data, or somebody who is VP of data, and you usually end up reporting to product, chief product or CTO. And I don't want to say anything bad about those people, but they are not coming from data background, and usually they don't understand that the way how data teams work are a bit different than a proper backend team.
Yeah.
And it's not always easy to communicate and align expectations regarding the pace of things or the outcomes. So that I find also quite challenging in some companies.
Yeah, Yeah, no, makes sense. It also reminds me when there are companies, they put like business development reporting to marketing, which is like they should work like hand in hand, but they're not the same department. And I can see that those clashes as well. Awesome. Before we go to the last question, let's do a before last question, which is as a data person, where do you get ideas? Where you get inspired? So usually in sales, LinkedIn gives me a lot of ideas and sales newsletters. But for you, how you get new sources of information? Vladimir.
Yeah, actually, I think for me the major source of information is also LinkedIn.
Oh, interesting.
I'm following several, maybe like hundreds of people in different from like different areas of data. It's like I don't know, some data engineers with like good understanding and fresh ideas in terms of what to do in data engineering, or it may be data leaders that try to elaborate on topics like why data is important and how to make impact using data and so on and so forth. Plus some like leadership people from leadership in general, how to manage teams, how to, I don't know, do all this like people management stuff and so on and so forth, and how to organize processes. Besides of that, if I need some kind of, I don't know, fundamental knowledge in like certain areas, usually I prefer to find right book, right author, and like spend some time on reading like whole topic in general. And then if I have some like small questions, I usually try to find the right person who is writing about
Sounds good.
like some specifics. Yeah.
Elizabeth, how about you? Who inspires you? Or what inspires you?
Well, I also look at LinkedIn. I also post a lot on LinkedIn. I try not
I've
to
liked
get...
a couple of your posts.
Yes, thank you very much. And I try not to get too addicted to LinkedIn. I
It's
don't know
hard.
how good I am at that, not getting addicted to LinkedIn. You know, but it's like what Vladimir said. I also try to read books and, you know, do sort of old economy stuff, like magazines too. I subscribe to a couple of computer magazines and politics magazines and stuff like that.
Igor, how about you?
Yeah, so I have to admit that LinkedIn is definitely quite a big source of information, but I'm also trying to follow some blog posts, podcasts in the free time if I have such, especially in traveling to the work, books, of course, and I have also a community of people that I know, so we try to get in touch from time to time. With some I meet more permanently, with some occasionally. I would say those are the main sources.
Oh, interesting. Not very different from me, who is coming from a different background. It's funny. Very, very similar. Books, LinkedIn, writing to people like, hey, how are you doing this? And yeah, sounds good. Right. So the last question, it's always after I try to understand better a bit of the department's life, I always show an email written by someone from my department to someone to your department. And then I get the feedback from you saying, nah, that doesn't speak to me. And I was like, I've seen worse. So I will just show the email, read it out loud, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts. So let me share my screen. All right, so no name shaming. So no company, no person, everything is anonymous, and everyone is called John in this podcast. So there you go. Hi, Vlad, Igor, or Elizabeth. I've been talking with other heads of data, and they usually look for a centralized version of the truth that ensures accurate data and alignment with your business. Is this something you're also interested in? Our software provides visibility into granular raw data and calculation lineage, providing full transparency and complete confidence to drive decisions. Open to see how it works. Warm regards, John. So who would like to start?
A lot of nice keywords.
Continue, Igor. Let's start with you.
Probably a lot of the main keywords that are the buzzwords in the last year that could be put it in one sentence. It's not easy.
Would you like to organize your data? Done.
I wish there would be one solution that can rule them all, but the data landscape is so diverse. It's so actually, at least for me as a leader in the data area, it's so hard to keep on track with all the different ecosystems of data solutions because it grows really, really fast. And I mean, I am not aware, to be honest, at the moment, one solution that can provide everything. Usually you have to plug and play some multiple solutions together, and then this is the hardest challenge, how you combine them all together with those different platforms. It depends on which cloud vendor you are working on. So demonstration, of course, will be nice, right? Bringing your team to make sure they can ask the hard questions, making sure it fits for what you need. But here comes the but. As an engineer, I always was, let's build it our own. Let's build it in-house. Why? Well, because it's cool to build something your own. The more I do management over the last years, I understand that you really need to be more realistic and to make sure your team's focusing on delivering value, which means if there is a tool there that maybe will cost you money and you have this money that you can put on, and will help you to be more productive in delivering value instead of building this tool in-house, maybe it's something you should look at, because in many cases, those in-house solutions could end up quite easily in a big mess.
Yeah, I love that. Vladimir.
Yeah, actually, I think you can imagine how many
I
emails like
can't.
this and messages like this I usually receive every day. To be honest, like as Igor mentioned, the data, all this like data topic and tools is pretty diverse topic, and we have a lot of them. And usually, like there are, I don't know, maybe every day there is new company starts that's with aim to fix all data problems and be the best solution in the markets.
The leading provider, right? I love
Yeah.
that. No, not really.
Yeah, actually, on the other hand, like being a manager in this area, I prefer to keep the number of tools that we are using as less as possible, because the more tools you have, the more maintenance you need to do, like the more effort you need to, and the more time you need to spend on this. So I prefer like if we have two, three tools that covers 90% of our requirements, for me it's better than have like 10 tools that covers 100% of our requirements and then have no time to actually help our stakeholders and being like busy with maintenance and like fixing some small issues here and there. So yeah, again, like it's good to see, it's good to give feedback to new company, to new tools, but on the other hand, yeah, as I mentioned, usually try to answer something polite to people who send me these messages.
Oh, you try. All right. Kudos to you, eh? I mean, nice. I like to hear that. Elizabeth, last but not least.
So the journalist in me would say, awesome, that tool and ChatGPT and me, great ROI on a data team. The head of data in me would say, let's see how this actually works.
All right. But I mean, me as a salesperson, I heard, let's see how it works. So I see an opportunity to show you how it works.
You'd have to show me it works. It sounds good. You know, writing stuff and making it work are two different things, but
that's the problem of our account executives in our product team, isn't it? Amazing. Look, thank you so much to all of you to take the time to speak with me about your role, to answer my very basic questions about your department. It's been a pleasure. And yeah, thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for hosting.
Thank you for the invite.
My pleasure. Have a good summer.
Yes, you too.